to the upper right-hand corner,
Okay.
there's a thing that says view. If you
Okay.
click on that,
Oh, view. Okay.
go to gallery.
Okay. Okay.
All
Oh,
right.
thank you.
All right. I got it. All right. And I see, Peter, we're being live streamed, so I'm ready to go.
Okay,
I'm good. All right.
good. Go ahead.
All right. Good morning, everybody. We are
Morning.
on YouTube and on Zoom, as you know, and being recorded. So welcome to the February 10th meeting of the Glens Falls Industrial Development Agency. We have a quorum. All of our members are here, and our staff and our advisors and consultants, and we have some guests. So welcome to everybody. Just a brief chair report. We are, Kara and I and Mayor Collins and other staff as needed are going through our policies and procedures in preparation for our annual meeting in the month of March. As you know, our audit is ongoing and nearing completion, and some of you may have even had some questions. I know I did in the last week or so, but that is moving along very smoothly. And I believe their work at the office is actually completed. Mark can fill us in later when he does his financial report, but I think that's kind of where we are.
Hospital. Sorry.
Some of the policies and procedures I'm sure may need some updating. We have, I think, about 39 of those, and most of them probably do not. But as we go through the next couple of weeks here, anything that does require any kind of major update, we're going to try to get to you guys in advance of that March meeting so that you have it. There are reports that we will do as part of the annual meeting as well, and we're getting preparation for that in addition, and so that is ongoing. We'll also have committee meetings in March. We will redo or update our committee assignments, our officers, and we will adopt a performance goals and measurement report for the year. And we'll kind of do a review of everything that we accomplished over the 2021 year. So that's all ongoing, and I think we're doing a pretty good job getting prepared for that March meeting. So we feel rather organized, and hopefully that will go well, and we'll get stuff to you guys as soon as possible. That is my report, and I'm happy to take any questions before I move on to the administrative reports.
Do you anticipate us being live for the March meeting, or are we going to, are we still Zooming? What are we doing? So
we can still Zoom. We still
Okay.
have the ability to Zoom legally. It's possible that could go away. Kara
Right.
keeps close tabs on that, as I'm sure you do as well. Kara, any update on that?
No, as of right now, the ability to conduct meetings by Zoom is still applicable. There hasn't been any modification to that. So the only change as of yesterday or today was the mask mandate, but everything else remains in effect.
Okay, cool.
So
Thank
I
you.
haven't heard any announcements to the otherwise. But certainly if we hear something before now in the March meeting, we'll let everybody know.
Okay.
Now,
But
the
will we
mayor and
still-
I did.
Will we still be able to Zoom though, Judy? Because I will be in California then. So
I wondered about people's plans. Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
can I
If we
still
can-
Zoom?
Yes, if we
Okay.
can still Zoom, I think we will.
Good.
The mayor and I have briefly talked about looking at a facility such as the
Work smart.
library or somewhere where we can do better social distancing. The Work Smart is another place that I think has good technology where we could probably both meet in person and have people Zoom. But we're following closely that regulation, if you will. I think it's actually an executive order.
Right.
And I think we will look to see if there's space available that we could use where there would be more social distancing permitted, as well as the IT capacity. But for right now, let's assume we're going to have that ability to Zoom and
There
YouTube.
you go.
Okay.
Yeah, right now, the authorization was actually adopted by the Senate and the Assembly, and it's actually a law allowing the Zoom, but the language is a little odd because it says that it ends when the pandemic ends. And
Right.
so it's unclear how that's going to be determined, or if they're going to go back and revisit this law to repeal it, or if it's not very clear as to what constitutes the end. So we're keeping an eye on it, and we'll let everybody know if we hear something, but I haven't
Well,
heard anything.
Kara,
as of right now.
I don't think that they have enough time to repeal it before our next meeting, right? Because they'd have to do public notice and they'd have to post and any, right? So-
Right, but the
we'll be
language
all right.
is odd because the language is odd because it says, if the governor declares it over, then so I think they're gonna have to go back and amend this language because it just seems a little.
I agree with you. So Mary, you can go to California. Here you go.
I'm going.
Judy, Bob
Yeah.
Landry, if
Hey,
I just
Bob.
could, just to comment on that. This world of Zoom has really become a wonderful thing to allow government to be a little more transparent to the people that it represents. So I don't know what the expense of it is or if there is an expense to it, but I would hope that would be considered as we move forward. If you can't, or any of our committees or organizations can't do it with the members, to at least have it available to the general public.
So Bob, the IDA has been required by law to be available in such a way, and we had been even prior to this. I don't think at the beginning we were doing Zoom, but I think we've been on YouTube. So
Right.
we would, this board would continue to do it. It's the same board, or has been the same board, that oversee the Local Development Corporation and the Civic Development Corporation. And so it's easy for the three, at the very least, to continue to do that. So I think we would, at the very least, always be available on YouTube. And I agree with you. And I think we've seen more participation from the public. I don't see so much today, but in the last couple of months, we see people from the public just joining in and watching. And I've also heard that people watch it on YouTube later because it's recorded. And so there's that as well. So
Thank
they may not be here today, but they could watch later. You're right.
Oh,
Anybody else on that?
just, does anybody know whose account this is, whose Zoom account this is?
This is mine.
That's
Gotcha.
Peter.
Well, it's
There
in my
you go.
name.
Yeah.
We just renewed
Right.
it.
Gotcha. All right. Because, and the city also has teams, and so the council meetings, different meetings will start to happen in teams because the city has not got a Zoom account. And we get teams already. We're paying for teams through Outlook, which is almost identical in every way. So one way or another, we certainly should continue this format for public.
It's not
Yeah.
that expensive.
No,
We have it also. It's not.
I
that
have
expensive.
it for, I had it for my campaign. I don't know why I have it now, but anyway, go ahead.
You guys are much more advanced than me. I have none of it. I don't have to. All my clients have it. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna move on to the administrative reports, but we can keep this discussion going, certainly. In terms of IDA organization, I've already kind of reported on what we're doing about the annual review for policies, and so I have nothing in addition to report on that. We do have and have had in our possession the minutes from the January 13th, 2022 meeting. Any questions or comments on those? And if not, if there's a motion to approve, I'll accept that.
So
I'll
moved.
make the
So
motion.
moved by Jane, second by Lois. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Any
Aye.
abstentions? There being none, the motion is passed to approve the minutes. So we have the financial report for the first month of 2022, ending January 31st. Our CFO, Mark, is with us. Mark, any comments you'd like to add in addition to what you've reported?
Nope, just the IDA. The only input was the check we got from Park Street for $13,194 and the check from 221 Glen for $1,375. No expense activity. The due to from LDC to IDA remains, have that listed as an accounts receivable. That check will clear in February. So all we did, I think the only, going back to your point on the audit, on the CDC side, all I'm doing on that is I have to bring the bank statements for January up to Whittemore. Same thing for IDA. I have to bring the bank statements up, bank statement up for IDA. Colin, to be consistent, wanted an adjustment for my payroll from LDC to IDA. So we did that. We used this year, in the past, we've used 40%. This year to help LDC with the cash position, we use 50%. So we will make that entry once that check clears in February. And
I think, Mark, just to interrupt for a minute, I think that given the business that the IDA had over the year, the number of transactions that you had to handle, the 50% makes sense.
Yeah.
Just on that alone.
okay, all right.
Okay.
So that was done and will be done. That entry, that'll all clear out itself in February. As far as the Paris reporting, I think that's begun. I printed off all of last year's detail for IDA. So I guess the input is beginning as of yesterday and will continue until probably the middle of March. So for both those, for all the entities, actually. And that is it.
And just to add to that, our Paris reporting, I believe we have until March 31st to complete it, but
Yes.
most likely we'd be done a few days after the annual meeting,
Correct.
which is on March 10th. So hopefully we'll be done by the midpoint of the month. Okay. Any questions for Mark or comments on any of that? Being none, I'll call for is there a motion to approve the financial report as presented?
So moved.
Mary moved, yes. Is there a second?
Yes.
Second.
Second is Lois, all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion is passed and the report is approved. Our Schedule A, which is attached to the agenda, calls for the payment of two bills. There's a $1,000 bill to Fitzgerald Morris Baker Firth to pay, and we're paying 50% if approved of the year-end audit to Whittemore Dowen and Riccadelli for a total of $4,500 this month. Any questions on that? Is there a motion to approve the payment of those two bills?
I'll make the motion.
Lois
Second.
made the motion, second by Mary, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays, any abstentions? There being none, the motion is carried and the bills will be paid. Nothing further on the annual audit. We've already talked about that, and I have no other reports other than project reports. So not a lot to report this month. On 88 Ridge Royal or the Queensberry Hotel, There was a closing with the Glens Falls National Bank on the project financing for that project since we last met, and that went smoothly. And all documents that we had to submit related to that were done by Kara. Thank you,
Thank you,
Kara, for
Kara.
handling that. On 1525 Park Street, which is EASM Holdings or Elizabeth Miller. Construction is still going on. We have nothing new to report there, but they seem to be
Busy.
continuing with construction, and hopefully their supply chain issues are hopefully getting better. They were experiencing some issues on supply chain and they were trying to get materials in more quickly. I haven't gotten an update on that recently, but we will before the annual meeting. And then I think this has probably been reported in the news as well, but the 221 Glen Street Realty, where Spot Coffee is located, more easily recognized by each of us. That termination was completed. It didn't go when we expected. I think the end of our last meeting in January, we thought it was going to happen that week, but it did occur recently and prior to this meeting. So that termination has gone through. And I have no new projects to report at this time and nothing else, but happy to take any questions. Okay. I have no other business to come before us and no need for an executive session. Our next meeting, as you know, is March 10th, and that is that annual meeting. As soon as we know that it will be by Zoom, we'll get that word out as well. I will not be in California, but
But you'll wish you were. That's
I
Yes,
wish
right.
I will. Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Make it.
Lois,
second.
second Jane, all in favor.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you all. Mayor, I turn it over to you.
Well, look at that. That was quick. Let's see if we can do this one just as quickly. I don't have to, let's welcome everyone. I don't have much of a chair report. I have had the opportunity to meet with Mark and Kara and understand what they do. And so thank you so much for taking that time to meet with me. And then I also had the opportunity to meet with Kara and then Judy. And thank you guys for your patience with all my questions. Denise, I just want you to know I've got a very large binder with all the policies and procedures waiting for you at City Hall. It's like a gift, Denise. I was thinking of getting a bow for it.
Well, thank you. It's appreciated.
Thank you. Let's see. I think we should move to administrative reports. And so help me, the LDC organization. Judy, do I have a report here?
So similar to the IDA that is mostly at this point in time what we are doing to get ready for the annual meeting and going through those numerous policies and procedures. And so as you know, Karen and I are going to be coming back in to go through that with you, and we hope to have that done well in advance of that March 10th meeting so we can get any changes out to the members.
Great.
That's
Also in your packets, anybody have any questions? I mean, that's just the normal reorganization and organization of LDC jobs. So any questions? Let's see. As far as the, I believe you have in your packet, the financial report for 1 month. Mark, do you have any thoughts or review of it, please?
Yeah, not much, just the typical insurance expense. We moved from prepaid for $1,220 for the cool insurance coverage for the month. There'll be some checks that will clear in February, but nothing in January. All this cash is reconciled. The balances, approximate balances of DRI, once items clear in February, will be 38,000. LDC operating will be about 32,000. The loans are all for Hanks and Elm Street, ELM, or I should say, are all current. There's an accrual still remaining of $40,000. That represents that Flight on South check that we sent out late January. That'll clear in February, or has cleared in February. That's a drive activity check. And accounts payable will be reduced to zero once those checks, which they all have. I took a look at the bank yesterday. Those checks will clear in February. That is it. I'm still waiting on the LDC. I told Colin yesterday, I'm waiting for any Robin questions or issues that she's got so I can get those attended to as far as the audit's concerned. And whatever there is I need to do, I'll bring anything up to them probably tomorrow. And that is it.
Thank you, Mark.
Yep.
Do we have a motion to accept the financial report? And also Mark kind of did the payment of bills at the same time. Do we have a motion?
Make it.
Second.
Any nays or abstentions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed and approved. Thank you very much. Let's see. So the USDA intermarried relending program. Judy, can you help me?
I think Jeff said at the last meeting he was going to have a report for us today.
Yeah, I do. And I do not have it yet. I left word with Gary Pereira. Mark, unless you have received something, I left note to him to try and get an updated status of the relending program.
Yeah, I did the input for the year 2021 for each of the quarters. I also input each of the individual projects. There's typical just of the fund report is just the loan balances, the reserve amount, and then the individual projects themselves is pretty much the same. You know, what the when it began, the initial amount, principal paid, interest paid, balance remaining. That's it. So that's up to date. I also probably will chat with Gary, what I have been doing to make sure that my input is correct. Anything that needs to be tweaked, I'll certainly do that. But as far as I'm concerned, everything is in. And then that it has to be reported, I think at the end of April and at the end of September.
Mark, is the report done digitally online, or
Yes,
is it something that
I go
can
into their
you print
website.
it?
I could print it. I haven't. I go into their website, so I could print that off.
So my suggestion is that at the end of April, when you get ready to submit that, once it's
Yep.
final, that you
Okay.
print a copy for the members and you send it along with the financial report for the month of April.
Okay.
And then the
Okay.
members will get a copy of that.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
So let's see. Do we have a motion to accept Jeff's non-report report?
I think, Mayor,
Okay.
I don't think you need to accept it because we don't in effect really have it, but we're going to get it at the end of April. And I think
Awesome.
what Mark is saying is the projects that we do have that are USDA are cited as such in the schedule of loan details that are attached to the financial report. So I think you in effect have already approved it, if you will, by
Gotcha.
accepting that financial report.
Thank you. Thank you. So any other reports? I did want to
do the
mention that
minutes.
go ahead.
Yeah, do the minutes from
Minutes.
January 13th.
Oh, thank you. So do we have a motion to approve the minutes of January 13th
I'll
meeting?
make them.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any nays or abstentions? So it's passed and approved. Thank you very much. The other, just a comment that I probably should have made under LDC organization. I've spoken to Suzanne Kasich, and so probably in our annual meeting that we will have Suzanne step off as the CEO and have Jeff Flagg step on as CEO. And then our, as far as the, we'll have our community development director step on under the CDC, but we'll talk about that at the annual report. Another thing, just for topics coming up next month, that I'm going to first have conversations with Jeff and Judy and Kara about, but I believe we've gotten the annual report from Warren County EDC about our industrial park. And so we should think about, as an organization, how we wish to move forward with the promotion or development of our industrial park, and see how we'd like to move forward. So I did want you all to know that I've got a report from Jim Siplon as to the work done in the previous year. And so we'll look at how we wish to move forward. I think we're all eager to have some movement on that development property. I don't have any other real reports, so I think we'll go down to projects and project reports. So as far as the downtown revitalization initiative, the Market Square at South Street, we had a very good meeting with Gabby Soros, and I'm sorry, Jeff, can you help me with the name of the company?
Vision Architects.
Vision Architects. We have a direction that we're now moving forward with, that is within our budget. We've also had a meeting with ESD, Empire State Development, and they've given us some leeway to utilize our money, more of our money towards the Market Square. Sorry, I want to make sure I got my language right. Market Square Center, and away from the parking facility, not all of it, but a good portion of it. So we should have, well, we're making progress. I just wanted you to all know that that is moving forward now after stalling. Let's see, the community market center building that with, the former that's the former incubator building. And then the other building, which was the old Hot Shots building. We have a proposal, revised proposal from Sonny Bonaccio. We had a tentative agreement to move forward. He sent us a contract that we are changing to the wording into the 2 phases. Instead of having 1 contract, having 2 almost, with 1 for phase 1 and 1 for phase 2. That is moving along very well also. Although, I don't know, I guess I would just say that we continue to work on the fine details, but the big principles of it are moving forward. Jeff, did you want to add something?
Yeah, just one thing I was going to mention with respect to this board, the development proposal we've gotten from Bonaccio. We are looking to make some revisions. We think per the agreements that we had, with some clarifications. The one thing that's perhaps relevant to this board is that included in, I think we're sort of in agreement that the purchase of the 2 properties from the LDC will be done at the appraised value. So that seems to be a settled issue. So with respect to this board, that would seem to be a sort of off the table as far as negotiation. They're going to pay the appraised value for those 2 properties, which I believe is $395,000. Wow.
Yeah, $395.
Yeah, I said $395. You didn't know I had 95 cents.
You got a great deal on it. So, and that does tie into that Empire State Development. They are, we're all on the same page with the amount of grant, which is, I think, 1.5 million for those 2 buildings that we can use, and that they're paying the $395 for the cost of the building back to the LDC. So that is, we think we're ready to move forward, although Bonaccio really wants to tie in some ways phase 2 with phase 1, and we're looking to separate the 2, not necessarily just to make it so we can continue to move forward. And also, just so for your knowledge, Bonaccio wants to put the redevelopment of Sandy's, although he's getting no money for it and it has no financial ramifications in phase one. That is part of phase one for him, is to redo the Sandy's building at the same time that he does the two buildings, the Hot Shots and the incubator building. So that's all coming together nicely. Let's
Mayor.
see.
Mayor,
Mayor,
just a comment.
Sure.
So it sounds like phase one is going to involve the sale of 2 properties controlled by the LDC, and phase 2 will involve a piece of property controlled by the city of Glens Falls. For phase 1, may I suggest that that either the members of the, I think it's the finance committee, or that you form a work group, including Kara, just to go over the content of that agreement before you bring it to the full board for approval. I think it might just help to prepare us as a board to see, to work through the details of that sale, since this
Yes,
board
well,
is going to have to approve it.
I did, that's fine. Karen's certainly welcome to join us, but we've met with Karen Judd, and she's helping us separate out that agreement for us. But I appreciate, I didn't think to bring in Kara because of the, because the two, it was one proposal to us that had 2 phases, and we're actually separating it out. But yes, we'll get Kara in there with it to consider. And it would be phase 2 is only really 1 property, Judy. The what is the current lot that the pavilion now stands on behind Sandy's or along Sandy's, right? That would be phase 2.
Right. And so, the members of this body don't have any formal connection or legal connection, if you will, to that phase 2 as you've proposed, but phase 1, we would. And so, that's properties that this corporation controls. So we would need to be involved in that.
Absolutely.
Mayor, if I could ask a question, and this is just out of curiosity, selling those 2 buildings at the appraised value today versus what the city paid for those, I don't even remember back when, but I remember when that was done. And I always thought that there was some of the citizens who questioned, the city's reasonings to obtain property, to get, I won't use the word control, but to be able to make sure that it was utilized properly in the city. Do we have any idea whether we made money on this transaction?
Well, the 395,000 is the actual, I believe, Jeff, speak up if I'm wrong, but it's the appraised value as of last year, not what we paid for it. And remember that the city didn't really buy those properties, the LDC did. And so the money will go back to the LDC and hopefully be used for other portions of the DRI to help us move the overall project forward. But so those are recent appraisals, Bob.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on what the mayor's saying, to I think the specifics of what you're asking, Bob. I have the transaction costs went from the previous owner to the city, and in some cases to the LDC. In one case, I think the LDC bought them outright. They're in the ballpark. I mean, I don't know. I can't say that we're making money on the transactions. As the mayor said, this appraisal we got was recent, so I'm not sure you can ask for much more than the appraised value. But they're in the ballpark, and I'd be happy to sort of provide them that the transaction, all the transactions that went to those properties up to this point.
If you could drop me an email, Jeff, that'd be great.
Sure.
Well, if you're
I would
returning,
just advise that since this has been raised, that at the next meeting that Jeff, you report those numbers that you see,
Sure.
the 2 properties, what the city actually paid for, and then what those appraisals did, and what the data that those appraisals were, which I think was last summer or last fall.
Correct.
And I would just include in this discussion that these 2 properties are part of the city's downtown revitalization initiative. And we're also following the procedures established by Empire State Development for these transactions, which does reference, I believe, that we follow appraised values. And so that's part of, Bob, why we were having appraisals done.
Well,
And-
two
and-
things.
and-
Two
I
questions.
don't disagree. I don't disagree with that. I think they should be sold only at appraised values. I was just out of curiosity, interested in knowing, from back to the time that we obtained possession of those properties to today, just what that transaction looked like. I'm not.
I appreciate it.
I wouldn't
too.
criticize.
Oops, sorry, Bob. I just wanted to insert here that as far as the Hot Shots building was concerned, from the time that the city acquired ownership, it was vandalized and all of the plumbing, all of the copper piping was ripped out of there. And therefore the building became useless as a standalone building during our ownership. That vandalization was never recouped through insurance. So whatever we paid for it as a standing operable building became moot very shortly thereafter. So just as a factor to think in terms of value.
My assumption is that once we took ownership, it was off the tax rolls anyways. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. So, I mean, you've lost tax income from there. So, I mean, you just want to get it back on the tax rolls, which I assume that's going to happen by selling these properties. So I think it's kind of moot what we've done in the past.
Yeah, it's also worth mentioning. I'm sorry.
One thing, Judy, the phase 2 property, is that going to be under the DRI as well?
It should be, John. It's basically the lot where the current farmers market
Right.
gazebo is. And that's controlled by the city of Glens Falls, not the LDC, but it is part of the DRI as well, at least the front part of it. I'm not sure that I'm trying to think back to the proposal.
Let me help
that
you. Let me help you, Judy. It's not financially part of the DRI, but it is actually part of it because it was where the original location that Ed had suggested a parking garage be. Now that parking garage has been moved over to the Elm Street lot, which we have grant money to address that, and that's part of our, we'll call it phase 2, 2B, or but it's not getting grant money, but it is definitely part and parcel of the project. And ESD is aware of it, and even though they're not funding any of it, where it has nothing to do with that, it is part of the overall development of the area, and so it is. Fair enough.
So the DRI, we may be involved with this because they may apply for some DRI money. Is that correct?
Who's they?
No.
Whoever develops that property.
You don't mean DRI money, you mean IDA money?
IDA money?
LDC,
But it's also
right.
part of the DRI area.
But yeah,
Right, but
so
that would
part
be
of the
separate from the
DRI.
DRI. That would not be, the DRI funding has already been allocated, and if they come back to us for development money or whatever loans,
Okay.
that would be entirely outside the DRI.
But they could apply for grants through the IDA then.
Well, they could apply
Whoever buys it, whoever
for
develops
the
it.
IDA to take a leasehold interest and to provide them with the benefits that we typically provide, which include sales tax exemptions and mortgage tax exemptions, and possibly a payment in lieu of tax agreement as well.
Okay.
They definitely will for both of phase 1 and phase 2, and that is why Judy's comments about having Kara and you all involved in that negotiation is definitely appropriate. So that clearly is part of what we're working on, at least the tentatives of it, not the details. That's what I meant, that we're making progress. That's where we're headed. I obviously make no specific commitments. Their numbers, Judy has helped me learn, and Kara are helping me learn about the details of all these things. And so the details of them, like what the details of an agreement, a pilot might be, That I'm not touching at all, but they are going to, their intention is to ask us for a pilot in the same manner that they have for 14 Hudson. And I gave them my best Judy Calogero answer, which was, well, we'd have to see your numbers and what the specifics are that you're asking for, and who the tenants would be, and what the benefits would be to the community.
Okay.
Just a point of clarification, both for you, John, and also for Councilman Landry. Maybe a simple way to look at the DRI funding in phase one, really what Empire State Development, their understanding of what we're doing, and our collective understanding, is that they're providing money for the market center, right? What we used to call the Huron market, that we're having done with Envision Architects and will have built. They're providing funding for the two buildings, right? The existing structures that the LDC owns, right? Part of the money for the DRI, and in many ways, perhaps to subsidize the concerns that you have, Councilman, about the fact that they're not worth as much as perhaps we paid for them. And then there is a third pot of money, which would be applied to phase two, but that's strictly for a parking structure, at least as ESD currently understands it. Not any funding from the DRI for phase two for the developer.
And Jeff, listen, thanks. I appreciate that. Really, what my question was, not to say whether we made money or we didn't make money. You have to spend money to make money. You don't make money unless you spend money. And I also think that sometimes you spend money because you see in the future a good that will come out of that purchase. And I think that a good is coming out of this purchase because it's now bringing together a lot of what the DRI effort was all about. So I was just curious because just recently campaigning, some constituents said, why does the city buy property? Why are they taking property off the tax rolls? And it's a long convoluted answer that you have to give. And like I say, I'm not very well educated in this field, but somewhat educated in this field, and said to myself, geez, you know what? Somebody takes a look at this. How would they see it? I was just curious. I'm very familiar with the buildings. I think that the purchase of that building goes back to Bob Regan, if I remember correctly. So it goes back a long, long time, and I wouldn't expect us to make money. I just think, again, the optics of it to citizens sometimes is, what are we doing and why are we doing it? And I was just curious with that number, not to break it down and say, well, we bought it for this and here's the expenses along the way and we sell it for this. We only can sell it for the appraised value. We did recoup some of our money.
I think we should keep in mind that 36 Elm was a brownfield that the city took over, as well as I believe Queensberry might have even been involved in that, and possibly SUNY Adirondack. So it was a little bit more of a complicated transaction, but the real public benefit to that is that brownfield got cleaned up. And I think any future use of that building will continue to be a public benefit, but that elimination of a brownfield contaminated building in the middle of our downtown was probably the biggest benefit to the citizens of this community, to have the city step in and to help to do that, take responsibility for that when the prior owners were not going to do that.
Thank you.
Do you have any projected time frame theoretically about when everything gets approved, when things are going to start? Because in reference to what Bob said, I get asked all the time, what the hell is going on? When the hell is something going to start? I don't see any progress.
Well, I was hoping Mayor Regan would run again for office and we could have it done by his next administration. No, I'm sorry. I just had to joke there. So I think we're actually looking at phase one right away. I mean, we're making progress, and I think, we'd like to break ground in the spring and summer. But I hesitate to make a commitment for another reason, that the devil is in the details of these contracts, and as developers do, we had ourselves an agreement, and when we got the proposal regarding the agreement, it had things in it that I just don't remember. And so we're revising it and sending it back. And so I'm hoping that to be done soon. But we're hoping right away. Matter of fact, that was the call from ESD has given us their, this is my language. They support everything we're doing, and they've offered us flexibility in utilizing this grant money to more of it towards phase 1 and our Market Square Center, and less of it towards the parking garage if we choose to get this project done. And they want us taking action. And so it's a very positive thing, but they're saying, do what you need to, let's get this going. And so we're very excited.
I just want to make a point about the timing, as far as from a procedural standpoint, which is boring. But if you want me to connect with Karen on what our requirements are, because we do have some notice requirements to the state that could potentially, put a delay in if everybody's saying it's going to happen in the next 30 days or something like that. So I can share with her what our timeframes are, so she can be sure that those items are written into the contract from the get-go, so they're familiar with that also.
Oh, that would be great. And also I meet with Karen on Tuesdays afternoons, Kara. And if you, I can, Bernie's out this week, and so I am lost more than usual. And so if you could come to that next meeting, it would be great. I didn't not include all of you on purpose. We just wanted to move forward. So it's great. Moving on to the Glens Falls Drive, I believe that program for what we had done is pretty much up and complete. Am I right, Jeff, in saying that?
Yeah, I don't know if Jim wants to add anything. I do know that we had one disbursement. I got a call from Flight on South. I think that was mentioned. Mark mentioned that earlier. They picked up a check. Several others are going. As we may discuss at some point in a near future meeting, we may want to look at, there are some residual funds from a variety of the HCR programs that we may want to consolidate and call it a round 2 or something along those lines. We're working on approval, and I think we've submitted, previously we'd submitted a request for approval to do so. Jim, I don't know if you want to give a little more color to that or not.
No, Jeff, you're right. And I just wanted to say 5 out of 8 are completed and paid for. And thanks to Mark and Lois for signing checks, and whoever else signed the checks in this transition. Mark ran around to hand out the checks to Flight Beat, which is desperately needing funds to finish their restaurant over on Warren Street, which they're trying to do feverishly. So we have 3 in progress of the original 8. And as Jeff said, working with the mayor and Jeff to cultivate sort of where we could go with kind of a round 2 in a sort of quiet way to finish up that program. So.
And while we're at it, Facade Projects, you want to talk about that, please?
There are no developments that I'm aware of, but Jim, you can go ahead.
2 in progress. So when you see the former Achenbach's, when that covering comes off, you'll know that that's about done and ready for reimbursement. So as long as, I think Chuck Goen had some very custom window and door work, vestibule work that is under wraps on Glen Street. It's going to probably be the best facade on the street, but he has some things I think that are stuck in shipping containers somewhere in the North Atlantic. So he is not yet ready for reimbursement. And then if you go by the former Rock Hill Bakehouse, that a few weeks ago had a new kind of a stone veneer being put on some of the cinder block walls. So those are still in progress, but we're ready with paperwork when they're ready to submit for payment. So still in good shape on the facade program.
Great. And I think the Small Business Recovery Fund, Jim, you want to keep going? You got the floor.
Yeah, thank you again, Mayor. Not a lot of activity. We did the council through the new mayor did approve a supplemental award. Well, the project review committee, of which Mary is one of the members, approved a supplemental award. One of the local businesses here in November, December had some pretty severe COVID impacts, and it's a business that actually relies on the holidays for a lot of their revenue, a food-based business. So while we have not made it well known that people might be able to come back, this person approached me and described some pretty nasty COVID effects. So the Common Council did approve a supplemental award to help with their rent. Again, that just frees up their cash flow in a time where they were expecting a lot of cash flow from Christmas and Thanksgiving and didn't make any money. So by helping pay their rent for a few months, you kind of give them some breathing room. But other than that, I have one pending application, and the balance of that original HUD batch of CARES Act money is about $12,000. So you've done 25 deferred loans, one supplemental, and one pending. So it's been a really good program, and we hope to kind of look for some other additional state funding in this year to carry forward, maybe in a little different iteration, but to kind of carry out the end of the pandemic and help some more businesses if we can.
I'm sorry, Jim, can you tell me what the balance is again for the minutes?
Yeah, I can send you the spreadsheet, Kara. It's 12,750, something like that.
Okay, just want to make sure I get the right.
Yeah, I'll send you the latest spreadsheet.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Any questions? We move on to other business. I don't know that we have anybody? And I don't believe we need an executive session. So if nobody has any further comments or questions, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
All right.
Thank you.
Billy,
Bye-bye.
your meeting went on
Thanks.
much
Mark,
longer than Judy's meeting. Just want to get
All right. Thanks. I know.
Mark,
Too many
since
questions,
Bernie's
that's
not
all.
there, can you give them to, can Suzanne get them?
Yes.
The bills that have to be, the checks, can Suzanne get them since Bernie's on vacation?
Yeah, Suzanne, the checks are in my drawer, right hand at the desk.
Okay,
Okay?
okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a
Aye.
good